Hey, good morning, everyone. Welcome into Packers Total Access. My name is Clayton. You can check us out on packernet.com. Find me on Twitter at Packers_access. You can email us, PackersTotalAccess@gmail.com. You can text us, 865-658-5824. Join the line side Jacob, who's just going to give you guys forewarning, battling the allergies, right, with the change of the season. Jacob, how you doing this morning, bro?
I'm good, man. I think I might actually be sick. It's not the allergies, but I feel great. You might hear me doing a little bit of that, but I'll try to keep that to a minimum. But man, I tell you what, it's hard to feel any type of way other than happy after the performance we saw yesterday. I think it was pretty. Even coming from a guy that slipped through about halfway through the fourth quarter, I'll admit that. I loved it, man. It was great. I thought that we did a lot of things well. We'll dive into a few of them here, I'm sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Let's do this before we get started. Let's jump right into it. Give a special thanks to the folks over at Ticket King, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. Wisconsin-based since '92, specializing in Packers tickets. Wisconsin's largest ticket source with offices next to Lambeau and in Milwaukee. Click on the link in the video description that'll send you to theticketking.com, where you can register for free as a customer. Go ahead and start shopping for your Packers tickets. Again, that is Ticket King, right across the street from Lambeau Field, the official ticket provider of Packer Fan Total Access Live. We appreciate them always supporting the show. So just a couple things we'll kind of rattle through here, Jacob. Some of the news that dropped. I got to be real with y'all. There's not a whole lot of like breaking news. It's kind of the calm before the storm. We know what happens on Cut Down, which is coming, roster cuts, which is coming on Tuesday. But what we do have is just trying to, I don't know if you're like me, Jacob, but on game day, everything is just blended together. You know what I mean? And it takes a day or two to go, okay, what actually happened? So one of the things we came away with, and we kind of hit on it last night, the calf injury with Jonathan Ford. Now, I don't think anybody's sitting here saying Jonathan Ford had a snowball's chance in hell of making the 53-man roster, but he was definitely going to be a practice squad guy, right? The thing that worries me here for Jonathan Ford's sake, sometimes these are the type of things happen that you'll have an injury like this, and you think, okay, he may go on IR, he might slip onto the practice squad and be healthy, but sometimes this type of stuff happens, Jake, and all of a sudden it's injury settlement, and you never see him again. You know what I mean? That worries me a little bit. But
honestly, that does too, and because everybody thinks that the typical progression of anybody when they get into the NFL is maybe they have a rough year one, rough year two, all of a sudden they come into their own, where it's like Jonathan Ford has fought and scrapped to get where he is. And it sounded like, like you just referenced, is that it was a pretty long shot to make the 53, but it wasn't a long shot to make the practice squad. We were hearing a lot of things about Ford. Yeah, just like Dave just said here, he was looking good in camp. I was hearing multiple reports of how he was looking exceedingly well than he has in the past. So like you look at a guy who's just absolutely grinded to get where he is. And I think that that's probably more of the more popular or the more prevalent way of guys getting their way in the NFL is they grind it out for 3, 4, 5 years, and they all of a sudden something clicks, maybe a roster move. You know what I mean? It's just God's divine plan sort of thing, where if they've just been kind of grinding it out and finally they get their shot. I hate the fact that he seemed to be in that position where his ability and his athleticism led him to a point where the coaches couldn't even deny, hey, we at least need to get this guy on the practice squad. It sucks that he had to probably take a step back in his career right now. And like you just referenced, a lot of times that's all it takes for a lot of guys to just say, hey, man, I'm done. I'm going to hang up the cleats. And I hope that that's not what happens with Mr. Ford. I hope that he, uses this as more momentum. But I got to be honest, it's a definite step back type feeling for him for sure.
Yeah, it sucks, man. And again, we have no reason to think it's not a minor injury, guys. We're just kind of, talking about how it seems like every year, what seems like a minor injury, sometimes you're like, whoa, we seen it just now with Jarvion Howard, right, Jacob? Yeah. Like Jarvion Howard, I was kind of excited about. I'm like, that's probably our practice squad guy. Next thing you know, an injury pops up and he's gone, right? So it's like,
I do think we re-signed him actually, Clay. Did you see that? Yeah, he went through waivers and nobody signed him, so I believe he is now back on the IR with us.
Gotcha. That's good to know. But I really liked the way he ran, man.
Me too.
I thought it's nothing flashy, but there was no wasted motion. It seemed like he had pretty good ball carrier vision as far as finding the first choice of the gap there, hitting it, protecting the football. I really liked the way he played.
What did you think about McCreary? Every time I've seen McCreary, I just feel like that dude again. He reminds me of Emmanuel, where it's like he makes it hard not to just root for the guy, because every time he gets the ball, it's like, well, he should have got 3, he got 5, should have got 1, he got 3, should have got 2, he got 5. You know what I mean? Like, it's just one of those guys. But
I thought he looked fine. I think what it comes down to is AJ Dillon and Marshawn Lloyd going to be healthy for the season? That's what's really going to shape out this this running back room. As Matt Schneiden tweeted out, does Matt LaFleur have an idea whether AJ Dillon, Stinger, or Marshawn Lloyd hamstring will be ready week 1? And Matt LaFleur said, to be determined. So he's holding the cards close to the vest there. I think it's realistic to think that at least one of those guys might begin the season on IR. I hope that's not the case. Of course, they took all precautionary measures to keep them out. Maybe they did that to go, let's put it this way. If you're going to have to put them on IR, and I'm not sure exactly how the logistics work here in the final 2 weeks of the preseason and how that may or may not affect those 2 players you can put on the injured reserve going in. Maybe you want to hold that back as long as you can, but it could be a sign of one of 2 things is what I'm trying to say here as I'm getting another cup of coffee in me. It could be, okay, they held them out to make sure they were healthy for week 1, or it could be, they're just not ready to go and we can stash them on IR for a couple of weeks, 4 weeks, whatever it is. So how do you feel about that? Because I think one thing it does spell is opportunity for Emmanuel Wilson. Kind of feeling like there's a decent chance he's going to make the 53 now.
Yeah. I mean, you guys know I loved AJ Dillon when we drafted him. I absolutely did. And I gave him, I'd say, a solid 2 years of trying to prove it, or, that kind of stuff. At this point, Marshawn Lloyd, in my opinion, obviously is a lock. We've got to see what he can do. He's so young. He's so talented. We've seen flashes where, like, his kind of MO is that all of a sudden this guy just seems like he's launched from a slingshot, from basically like a standstill motion. He's really good at changing direction. That's the type of back that I want to see in this roster. Now with AJ Dillon, I don't want to seem like I'm being super negative, but at this point in his career, at this point with what's going on, I feel like he's a progress stopper. That's what I feel like. Is we've talked about that with multiple different take your eye off the ball, Michael Lombardi, different types of people have different references as to what this type of player is. I feel like that at this point in his career right now, AJ Dillon is a big name. He's a fan favorite in some aspects, but I believe that he is hindering the development of, let's say, a McCrary, let's say a Howard, let's say even a Merriweather, guys that have shown that they've just simply performed better, and they don't have any sort of loyalty to the team or anything like that. But I just have to say that if we're looking at a results-based approach, I mean, and that's what you should do in the NFL. I just haven't seen anything from Dillon in the last 2 years, to be honest, that would tell me that he deserves to be on a team more than Marshawn Lloyd, more than even Emmanuel Wilson, more than, in my opinion, tweener guys like McCrary and Howard. I mean, I'll even go that far. So I know that I'm pretty much made my stance clear for a while now, but so I may be biased. Let's see what Tim's thinking. Tim's shaking the dust off. What's up, buddy?
You're muted, brother.
You're muted. He just goes,
morning, fellas.
Good morning, brother. Hey, listen, let me just go ahead and tell you.
Let me get this diesel going.
I was going to say, you sliding in here, if you're feeling bad because you're late, Jacob has the swine flu. All right, we're just going to call it that.
Better than the monkeypox.
Hey, monkeypox is next on the list, is what I'm hearing. Anyway, I'm trying to get woke up, and then when you wasn't in here, I was like, yeah. I told Jacob, you want to go back to bed, go back to bed. I'll just sit in here and mumble for an hour. We'll be good. Anyway, how you doing?
Doing good, guys. Happy to be here, man. Yeah. Talk a little ball. So I hear we're continuing the AJ Dillon Bash Fest, or what's going on?
Easy.
Now, we were just talking about Matt Schneidman's tweet here. It says, does Matt LaFleur have an idea whether AJ Dillon or Marshawn Lloyd will be ready week 1? All Coach LaFleur said was to be determined. So we were kind of spitballing the running back room and saying, hey, how's this going to shake out? Are they both going to go on IR? Or neither of them going to go on IR? Maybe one goes on IR. Either way, it spells opportunity for Emmanuel Wilson. Jacob was just pointing out that he liked the way that McCrary ran yesterday, and it's kind of hard to justify continuing to give A.J. Dillon a shot when these other guys show. I mean, we got to be real. They are showing more than A.J. Dillon in the limited snaps, albeit preseason, But Jacob, you did say something. I'm going to turn it back over to Tim. You said something that he hasn't really shown you anything. One thing he showed me that impressed me or surprised me last year was his pass catching ability and how important he was in the passing game. When Aaron Jones went out, I was like, oh no, the passing game is going to take a huge hit when we're in 11 and 12 personnel, trying to throw out of the backfield. AJ stepped right in, and he actually had a better, if I remember correctly, he had more production on a per game basis in the passing game, and definitely grade wise with PFF receiving than Aaron Jones did last year, albeit Aaron Jones was banged up. So that's the one thing I would say that sticks out to me. He's definitely, in my opinion, it doesn't mean I'm right, but in my opinion, I think AJ is definitely better than those other two running backs in the passing game, both in pass pro and catching the football. But go ahead, though, Tim. That's kind of where we're at.
Yeah. I see Dennis's comment up here is pretty spot on. I mean, if you're going to sit there, well, what does AJ Dillon bring to the table? Well, there's two things right there that, I guess you could say are positives, and it's
for those of you listening on the pod, Tim's talking about AJ is very serviceable if you don't actually run him. Pass pro and catching out of the backfield are his strong suits. Sorry, Tim.
Yeah, absolutely. But I also agree 100% with the fact that we've got some young backs in that locker room that were showing flashes and potential. You guys know it's no secret I'm a huge Emmanuel Wilson fan. I believe he should make this football team. They gave him 7,000 carries again yesterday. And he looks like a guy that, a workhorse type of running back. And, we had some questions about him catching out of the backfield, and he looked pretty good. The few looks we got of him catching the ball in the pass gaming running. So I guess pass pro would be something we'd have to look at. Some of those other things that you need your running back to do in this offense. But, I don't know. I think AJ Dillon's on this team. I think he's protected. It's more than likely will be his last year, probably, as a Packer. And I think we have to just get behind our guys. It can be frustrating, but you never know. AJ Dillon could come back from this stinger and give us one hell of a year of football. And, part of being a fan is going through the ups and downs. We were on a kicker bash fest for a while. And, I remember in recent memory, we had a guy named Mason Crosby who really crapped the bed in the middle of his career. And people were ready to run him out of town. And we made a decision to stick with him and support him. And he bounced back from that and had some huge kicks for us down the stretch of his last few years in Green Bay. So, looking at a guy like AJ Dillon, who maybe has struggled recently, we got to just get behind him. I think it's that time of the year. I'm convinced he's going to be on the 53, and we're going to have to just get with it or get left out, I guess, and see where he takes us. But it does suck because there are guys on this team. Well, on this team until about 3:00 on Tuesday that they show a lot of potential, and we know how this team is set up, right? We know, Goody had no problem telling Aaron Jones goodbye. So I don't think, it's like we can't get away from AJ Dillon. I think if that decision was really presented and they had to make that move, I think they would, but I just think that they like him on this team. Even if it is just for those few attributes that he really does and does well, that could be his role. We could see him in those situations. But I don't know.
Yeah. So, and also with the Mason Crosby thing, I remember that year he struggled really bad, and they actually went in and tweaked this contract and made it incentive based. Like, all right, we're not going to pay you this money if you're going to continue to be this bad. Kind of put him on notice. They brung in, I'm trying to think of the real name, but I know Mike McCarthy. That was back when there were some serious silos in the front office in Green Bay. McCarthy didn't even know the name of the kicker they brung in. I think he called him Sergio Tavecchia or something like that, but his name was Giorgio or something. But anyway, that was back when literally a player would show up at practice and McCarthy's like, oh, okay, cool. because Ted was like, I don't want any input. Here's the players, go do it. It was just old school like that. But yeah, they put Mason on check, that's for sure, and he responded really well.
Right.
And you don't have that. You don't have to do that here with Anders. If he's going to do it, he's going to do it because he knows he's playing for his career right now. I know I went ahead and put a Twitter poll up this morning geared around this very topic, asking Packer fans. I said, if you had to choose between Anders Carlson and Greg Joseph, because we know there's a good chunk that would go, cut them both. It's not what I'm looking for here, okay? As your kicker this season, who are you taking? 68.2% of the votes went to Anders Carlson. 31.8% went to Greg Joseph. So
68%? That's a heck of a lot more than
65%.
65%. That's what we absolutely. So I don't want to say I'm surprised because that's how social media works. You always hear the loud people, and that's why I love doing these polls. And those loud people will always they'll come at you kind of harsh and try to hit you with well, yeah, but this and that. And it's like, bro, like Jimmy Johnson said to his coaching staff when they asked, who would you rather have, Troy Aikman or whoever the guy was that they were looking to draft out of Miami? And this guy said, if we're sitting here saying, everybody went around the room and voted. And one of the coaches said, if we're sitting here saying that this guy is better than Troy Aikman, you guys have lost your damn minds. And they said everything got quiet. And Jimmy Johnson said, shut up and make your pick. That's why I love doing polls, votes, and stuff like this, because we're not looking for opinion. We're simply asking, who are you taking? It's that simple. And it's, like I said, Anders Carlson ran away with it. The miss yesterday was ugly. Don't get me wrong. But one of those loud people, you literally put the 54-yard field goal that Anders Carlson hit. You put that up on Twitter, and one of those loud people responded and said, it was still a horrible kick. It's like, what the hell are we talking about? He just banged a 54-yarder, and because it didn't go directly between the uprights, I mean,
right.
like split down the middle, we're going to dog the guy. It's just that every year, and this is one thing that bothers me about being a fan and being so plugged in with the fans, is every year there's somebody that they're going to pile on. Right now, Anders Carlson and A.J. Dillon are the two, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not saying you're doing that, Jacob. I know you're not doing that. What your argument, Jacob, is valid, and there's nothing wrong. Just like anyone who doesn't like Anders, their argument is valid. It's not like he's a top 10 kicker. And I'm of the opinion, if you can find someone who's top 10 at their position, you go get them. The problem is they're not here right now. But A.J. Dillon's running, man, it has plummeted. Every year his yards per carry has gone down. Every year his PFF grade has gone down. If it wasn't his fault, the PFF grade would be somewhat stable, and you go, okay, the blocking's bad on that play. He did what he was supposed to do. Not the case at all. So we'll see, though. I think there is value in pass pro, and obviously in
what was your take? Did you see the clip real quick of a fan apparently yelled out to Dylan, "Hey, why aren't you wearing pads today?" And he goes, "Why aren't you?"
I don't like it. And honestly,
that to me was just one of those where it was like, dude,
it's just like the other comment. And again, the reason I try to steer clear of that stuff on the show is because I want people to come away from the show. And this isn't a shot at you, Jacob. We need to talk about that stuff. That's one of my flaws, is I try to steer clear of that stuff. And we probably should talk about stuff like that more. But I want people to come away from the show going, hey, let's go have us a day and be, but yeah, it's a bad look. They said to AJ, why aren't you playing? I don't think they were saying it like in a malicious way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did you guys see Caden had a tweet about that? Yeah. I think he was sitting down there and he said, the fan had kind of said it in a joking way. And then the AJ kind of responded in a tongue-in-cheek joking way. It wasn't like he seriously had an attitude or,
it wasn't really malicious.
Yeah, it wasn't malicious. That was the vibe at least that's what Caden had said, because he was sitting there. He had some actual photos of him kind of turning around, smiling. So, and that's usually the vibe during camp practices when you do have a player interaction like that, especially when they're on the field and not just, like walking in or something like that. So I think it was just a quick little kind of a nothing burger funny moment between a player and a fan. And there's hundreds of stories like that. I can tell you some of the things Preston Smith was saying to the fans, and things like that. And it was all just, fun. So I don't think we should read too much into
more or less. Tim, you're saying it was kind of taken out of context.
I think so. And I think with all the things going on right now with AJ, including the locker room interview, that we all experienced that kind of rubbed fans the wrong way. Those things, when you get something like this on the tails of that, it's easy to lump everything in and act like it's something. I mean, you can see in this photo, he's like got a grin. He's smiling like, dude, why aren't you playing? Come on, man. Why aren't you in pads? It was just a funny kind of thing. I don't think it's anything to get.
I respect your opinion, Tim. I do. I think I disagree somewhat, because whether you're kidding or not, it's like if they said, hey bum, why aren't you in pads? Cuss them out. I'm good with it. They're fair game if you're being rude to a player, right? But the fact that he said that in the interview in the locker room, like, those of you on Twitter, enjoy the game. You can't do what we do. And then it was like 2 days later, it was, why aren't you in pads? Not a good look. There's nothing positive that comes out.
I think that he may be getting frustrated, to be honest.
He's got to be.
There's no way that he's not feeling some pressure. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's been the darling of this team for so many years, and now all of a sudden it's like fans just like hate on this guy. And I can, put yourself in his shoes. How would you feel if you came to work one day and all of a sudden nobody likes you anymore? And
and plus there's an added niche that he absolutely has shown that he's made it clear. I love Green Bay. I want to stay in this city. My wife's family lives here. Like, I'm tied to this community for the rest of my presumable life. So it would honestly, like Tim just said, man, at one point you're literally getting the key to the city. The next day you're thrown out with the next day's trash. It's like,
I think
that's
he was just
NFL.
Frustrated. There's a lot of sloped roofs there, by Lambeau, and he's just frustrated. It was just a bad day.
I can only imagine, man. And shout out to Caden, who did put the tweet out, and he did. Caden was very vocal that, hey, it wasn't like AJ was trying to be an a-hole, But again, it's just, I don't know. It is what it is. I could care less about this stuff. I'm focused on football, X's and O's, what wins games, what doesn't, trying to understand the game at a little bit different level every year, and the game's constantly changing. But it is important to talk about. I'm glad you brought it up, Jake, because it is something that, as we always say, if you see it, you got to say it, right? And that is something that blew up on Packers Twitter, no doubt about it. So, again, Anders Carlson, we'll update it one more time here, and I put it out like an hour ago, which is really cool. 248 votes, so a pretty decent sample size. It wasn't like there was 13 people, including my Uncle Bill, voting on it, but it's up to 69.4% Anders Carlson now, which is where I'm at too. If I had to choose between the two, it's Anders. I'm with Jacob too. If someone a much better kicker, drops on the waivers or whatever with final cuts, don't be afraid to replace him, because the reality is you can get Anders Carlson on your practice squad. No one's going to sign him to their active roster. That's not going to happen this year.
Do you think this is a fair comment by Omer? It says it's not Joseph versus Carlson now. It's Carlson versus the possibility of someone else from another team via either trade or cut down is what I'm put a little bit of words in his mouth.
It'd be breaking serious precedent for a trade, but I think a better chance is obviously, and it goes without saying.
So I actually did try to look into kickers, and we'll get off kickers in just a second here, guys. I promise.
It's hilarious. It's like the joke of training camp. It's hilarious.
It is. What I did is I actually did find about 10, 15 teams that do have a strong number two. The one that I would honestly say, if anything were to happen, and I'm not hoping it does, at this point, I'm kind of in the Carlson camp. I'm cool with it. I think that he is going to progress. I think that he is our future. However, Greg Zuerlein with the Jets, apparently it sounds like he may be getting cut. And this dude has a plus 92% kickoff of the last, I think, 4 out of the last 6 years type stuff. He is an absolute heat-seeking missile. Not a human meat missile, but a missile.
Very different.
And there are a few guys that out there, but I was surprised. It actually humbled me a little bit because I kept looking at I started by searching like who are the hot legs in camp kind of thing, and all of them are right around 80 to 85% legs. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, so Anders is dead in the middle of those. Like, do I really want to?
Exactly.
It is what it is. So,
and again, he's most likely only going to get better. Like it's not like he came in the league and was really good and he started to suck. Like I feel like you're seeing progression with Anders. If I remember, and I don't know if the number's right, I can't remember who posted it. Someone posted his field goal percentage, his make percentage in camp last year was in the 60s.
Yep.
And this year it's in the 80s. It's like,
dude.
Whoa, okay. Because he ended up being in the 60s in training camp and then finishing in the 80s in the regular season. Who knows, man? Maybe he comes out in the regular season and he's flirting with 85, 90%, right? That would be great.
And Dave comes over here and pees all over my parade. He says, Zerline just pooped the bed last night, Jacob. Think again. I didn't look, so he probably missed a kick or two. So, as soon as you think you're up, you're down.
Are you telling me that people other than Anders Carlson misses kick? Because I refuse to believe it. All right, let's move on. So one of the highlights yesterday was obviously the touchdown pass to from Michael Pratt to Bo Melton. He didn't throw it to himself. He threw it to Bo Melton. Really cool play. It was a 3rd and 4 play in the second quarter, 7:27 left. Green Bay was down 7-6. There's nothing extravagant. I personally don't like this concept, but just to kind of explain what happened on the play, if I can get to it here on the screen. Yeah, you guys can see it.
Why don't you like it? Just curious.
It's just there's literally 7,000 defensive calls that could shut this play down. You know what I mean? Like, I like concepts where it's okay if they're in cover one man, this concept will beat that. The same concept will be to cover 3. The same concept. You're going to different targets and different choice aspects of the route combination or the passing concept. But in this situation, I'll explain to you what I mean here. If the free safety reads this correctly, there would have been no one open on the play.
They were in this a lot yesterday. There was a lot of cover one man peppered in there. Did you guys notice that too, or was
it's very vanilla? Yeah, when you're in preseason, typically what will happen is they'll play a cover 3, just a rush 4, or they'll play a single high man, and that allows them to get some looks at guys playing that wrap position underneath in zone, plus their deep safety, everybody in man coverage. And it's what you're doing, Tim, is you're creating coaching opportunities on the coaching tape by coaching technique in the preseason. So you're not giving away what you're actually going to run during the season. What I mean by that, they're going to run these plays in the season. It's just they're trying to hide the stuff that they really, really are excited about unveiling this year, because every team has gone back and watched everyone's tape. They know what you did last year. Now it's, do you continue to do what you did that was successful, knowing that teams are keying in on that, or now do you change it up a touch? So, yeah, it's a very vanilla type defense for sure. But let's kind of draw it out here, man. So this play was 11 gun, nub left, T same, Y arrow leak, slot choice, Hoss, T leak, shoot. Okay, and let's explain what all that means here. So the tight end, first of all, 11 gun. We always talk about this. With 11 gun, it's 1 running back, 1 tight end. Let's go ahead and make that a little bit smaller. So you got 1 running back, 1 tight end. That's 11. That means 3 wide receivers. Okay. So nub left means the tight end is the only guy on one side of the formation, and he's somewhat semi-attached. He can be attached or semi-attached. If he was flexed out, then we'd probably say trips right, Y flex, because he would be out here somewhere as opposed to somewhat close to the line. So that's what nub left means. It means trips right. You could say trips right, or you could say nub left. When you say 11 gun, nub left, you know there's only one guy on that side of the formation. It has to be trips right. Now, if it was a bunch set, then you would say bunch right, nub left, that type of thing. So anyway, T same means the running back, or the T, what I refer to as the T. Bobby Peters refers to him as the H. I like to withhold the H for a fullback position. That's just me personally, and everybody's a little bit different. So your T is on the same side of your tight end, making that the strong side of the formation. All right. Now, let's talk about what some of the routes are really, really quick here. Y arrow leak. So in a leak play, it's a chip play. You're going to chip this 90 here, and then you're going to run an arrow route. That's called an arrow route right there. Okay. So it's Y arrow leak. So chip and leak out. Slot choice. Who's your slot defender here? Remember, the X is always on the line of scrimmage opposite the tight end. So that's going to be your X right there. Weird. Most people look at that and go, no, Clayton, that's the slot. Most people in football refer to that as the X, because the X is predominantly defined by being the receiver on the line of scrimmage opposite the tight end. So that makes Samori Toure your slot and makes Malik Heath your F or your flyer. Okay, that's how that would essentially work. If he was on the line of scrimmage and the other guy was off, you would refer to Bo Melton as being potentially your flyer. He's not technically the slot, probably be the flyer in that situation. And it gets very, very convoluted. When you hear LaFleur say F, most people think he's referring to a tight end. It's been explained to me by pretty reliable sources that in LaFleur's offense, his tight ends are identified as Y and U. Okay, Y being the predominant traditional attached tight end, the guy that's out there the most, and then the U being kind of that utility tight end. I'm not even sure if U stands for that, but he kind of comes across as that guy that can play wing, can play in the backfield a touch, although I'm always going to specify when the tight end's in the backfield, that's the H-back. So that's, again, everybody's
U stands for you get out there and sift block.
Exactly correct. So there is your Y arrow leak. Next is slot choice. So seeing that we identify the slot, this choice route was just a curl out. So you can see that Samori Toure kind of hits out here, curls, and then works his way back in. And the reason we know that it was a choice route is because he didn't come hard out of that break. It was like a sit, okay, it's not there, let me work to the right a touch. So I think there was a little choice aspect to that. Hoss is a passing concept where the number one receiver will run a curl, right? And then the number two will run a non-route. In this case, it was more of a non-fade. So you can see what they're trying to attack here. The T is going to chip, and he's going to leak out in a shoot route. Not much of an arrow, but more of a shoot. It's probably a little flatter, more like that right there. Okay. So the reason, Jacob, I don't care much for this play call is because that single high safety, notice there's no threat on the left side of the field. He should have been able to read, unless that's turned into a wheel route, and he's not going to get there anyway with the Y. He should know my biggest threat is over here. So once 83 chops down, what he should be doing is getting out there on that 9. You see what I'm saying? So if he goes to the 9, and again, they had to make a back shoulder throw, so it was good coverage too. It's a low percentage play there, being a 50-50 ball that's probably way lower than 50%, even though we call them 50-50 balls. And everyone else is kind of snugged up, and they took away the curl. They took away the choice underneath. So if 6 reads this correctly, you're throwing into double coverage, and you're probably throwing the ball away because everyone else really manned up well. I think it was 28 that ends up going out here on the tight end. 23 snugs down on the shoot route. Everybody's covered up here. So we'll roll it here and show you what I'm talking about. Watch the safety.
Do you think it's fair to say that play scheme basically gives an upper hand to the safety because you're not forcing him to do anything other than, like you just said, basically read, react, double cover?
What was the question again? I'm sorry. I missed it.
No, it's a lazy play call basically because you're setting up the safety to basically do very little. He just has to make one read, one move, and now he's double covering a receiver. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and in this situation, being a 3rd and 4, they were probably thinking they may run right here because when you're on that side of the football, or on that side of the field, you're in 2-down territory too. You know what I mean? Like if you run the ball there and you pick up 3 yards, you're probably going to go for it on 4th and 1. So that's probably why they were showing that set because you see they've got a spur. I mean, they've got basically 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, borderline 8, 9 guys in the box if you include that close split out here on 80. Like you got
everybody thought we were going to run on that play.
Yeah,
I remember it vividly. Happened right in front of me, and it looked like run. It smelled like run. If we don't get it, we go for it on 4th and 1 or whatever. And to call this kind of like you said, a end zone shot here was probably the least vanilla thing we saw in the game.
And you see 24 is in his hip pocket, man.
Yeah.
Like
it was a good ball by Pratt.
It's a perfect ball, dude. And Bo Melton, that's your number 5 receiver out there, boys.
I know. And hey, I got to say this because this always happened. Literally 2 or 3 minutes before this play, I was talking to my Uncle Jim about Bo Melton, and I don't know. He's had kind of an up and down camp. What do you think about him? And I said, I don't know, I agree. And then bam, back shoulder, touchdown, Lambeau leap. I look like an idiot again.
Hey,
Tim,
welcome to the club, Tim.
Where are you, Tim, with the Malik, Bo, and Grant?
Bo's on the team, you know it. And
Bo's on the team. I think Malik Heath
played like an absolute dog yesterday. So that didn't help Grant DeBose's chance as much. I will say this. I could go either way. Grant didn't seem to get a lot of targets yesterday. I think he had 1 or 2 targets in the pass game. Was doing a lot of the dirty work. Now, either that means he's got a spot and they're like, hey, we need to get a look at, some of these other guys and, kind of protect you a little bit, or it means the opposite. And, you're going to the practice squad. And I still believe Grant has had a great camp. And I think if he goes to the practice squad, there is a chance he gets picked up,
Yeah. If you guys would hit that like button for us real quick. Got a bunch of people in here. Appreciate y'all hanging out with us here on this Sunday morning. Hopefully the coffee is flowing nicely this morning. I know I went through 2 cups, man. God, it was delicious. So ain't nothing better. Man, you got a little bit of chill in the air. It's starting to cool off a touch. Still getting hot during the day. Man, football season's here. So again, that play call though was 11 gun, nub left, T same, Y arrow leak, slot choice, Hoss, T leak shoot. All right, and we're going to continue to do that as we go through the season. Here, what you got, Jacob? Somebody else?
No, it just reminds me. Was it Chris Sims that was trying to repeat back John Gruden's?
And you notice how easy mine are compared to Gruden's. Gruden's was like
Gruden's was.
Oh my!
And he'd be like, "It's not that freaking hard." It'd be like
everybody watching's going, "The hell it ain't."
it's like 70 syllables.
Trash out. You asking this guy to recite 1,300 things? Yeah, that's one of the all-time NFL films clips there. I wish we could show stuff like that, but
that was when in Tampa, right? Was that Tampa still?
Yeah, Tampa Bay.
Or was that? Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Tampa Bay.
Hey, I love Gruden, but that's a hard coach to play for unless you are literally know exactly what that man wants at every second of the time. He is.
Yeah, let's get caught up in the chat here. People comment. Appreciate y'all marking for me. Dennis Shook said, "Tim, how did your dad like it, bro? How do you like the game?"
Oh, it was fun. He was like a kid again. It's been a while
since 94, right?
94. Yeah. And what's funny is I think it was Tampa Bay. That was the game we went to against the Bucks back in I believe it was 94. And so my dad hasn't seen what Lambeau Field and Titletown has really become. He hasn't gotten to see it in person, and he had the same kind of reaction everyone does when they make that first trip up here after a long time, or maybe your first trip ever. It was you're kind of starstruck at just the facility and just being here. It's truly heaven on earth. And we had some good seats. My dad enjoyed the game. It was fun. Beautiful weather, like perfect weather for a Saturday noon preseason game. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything better. And no, it was a blast. I'm glad he was able to come up. So thanks, Pops, for coming to the game with us, and my Uncle Jim too as well, who actually is friends with Grant DeBose's parents, believe it or not. So he went down pregame and talked to Grant's folks and stuff like that. So it was just a cool day. It was great.
Grant DeBose has got a hell of a story too, man. Like it's pretty cool how he had no reason to think he was going to be in the NFL and even having a shot. And I'm excited, man. If he does get stashed on the practice squad, and here's the thing too, I don't want to lose him, but if he gets an opportunity somewhere else, man, go crush it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's the way I always kind of look at that.
I would think that's the route, right, Clayton? I don't think an outright release. I think he's probably on the practice squad at the very least. Yeah,
absolutely. Completely agree with that. Nathan in the chat said, I would rather have Lloyd at running back 2 than Dillon. I think I'm leaning in the same direction, Nathan, but we haven't seen Lloyd. Lloyd may come out and play worse than Dillon. I don't think he will. I think he's going to be a solid back. That's one of my, I was more excited about that pick hearing Daniel Jeremiah. It didn't match up with my board, but Daniel Jeremiah was saying that's the best running back in the draft. So hopefully he lives up to that kind of hype, but there's a decent chance that he can come out and not do well either, And it sucks that he's missing these crucial reps in training camp, because the hammy. That damn hammy, man, I'll tell you, I'm so sick of talking about hamstrings. Richard King says, I think the younger guys have the upside we need at no additional cost. I guess he's talking about running back position probably. If so, though, I mean, A.J. Dillon's pretty much just a couple pennies more, So the financials of keeping A.J. Dillon not as important to me as potentially tying up a roster spot if indeed Emmanuel Wilson and Marshawn Lloyd are better than A.J. Dillon. I don't want to speak for you, Tim, but I think you probably do agree with this. If someone could go, into a time machine and say, Tim, I came back, man, Marshawn Lloyd and Emmanuel Wilson's way better than A.J. Dillon. You want the better backs. I know you do. So it is what it is right now. It's just, do we know that's the case? And I don't think anybody really does. So Omer in the chat said, I don't know if Welch can beat out Eric Wilson, but it's damn tight, as is Cox Jr. and Mosby, Heath and Dubose, King and Rochelle. Those some close races. They are.
Kalen King made himself a strong case yesterday.
Yeah.
He sure was everywhere.
He did.
We'll be hitting on the PFF grades tonight. I'm excited about that. Go ahead, Jake.
Now, did I see that? Is Rochelle actually really seriously injured? Because I'm seeing that there's a possibility that he actually had a decent injury. Is that correct? I don't know if anybody in the chat.
I haven't heard anything about that.
I'll go comb through real quick. If you want to keep hitting those marked chats, and let me go on Twitter and see if we can find something.
I'm fairly certain that he did suffer an injury.
The one that I really noticed was Jonathan Ford. That
Right.
was tough to see him getting carted off.
So here, actually, Prince, the next comment up says Rochelle's injury is tough. If they waive him injured and have to go through a settlement, there is then a period after that they can re-sign him. However, he thinks he's gone. So I don't know. Yeah, if you guys can maybe check on that real quick, because that might have been when I was taking my little sleepy nap time. I didn't see that, and I was watching for Rochelle specifically. So the hip says I have Telfort and Welch on the 53, and both Cox and Mosby off. How dare you? How dare you, sir?
No, I'm gonna go with.
Yeah,
I disagree with your opinion, but I respect it. I respect it, but I disagree.
Right, so everybody that did report, sorry to cut you off, Dave, just give you an update here. It's a hip injury. Yeah. So, man, what's up with hips this year? What the heck?
The hips don't lie.
That's it. Got it, man. Yeah, so that's all I'm seeing is it's a hip injury. Go ahead, Jake.
Unless you're Taylor Swift. In that case, the hips do lie. Ugh.
What hips?
She can't dance. I'm just saying. Prince says, I think Welch needs Cooper to go to IR with return to make the 53. I could see that. I just think, dude, Welch, I know Tim loves him too. I don't know if you watched him. Obviously, you did watch him in person, Tim. Are we crazy, man? He just seems like a very physical. He's a beast, right?
He's a monster. And he as Clayton would say, he plays the game with his hair on fire. And when you're in that type of a position group in the middle of the field like that, you want a dude playing football like that on your team. And I think it's similar to the receiver room situation. There's a lot of talent in this linebacker room, including, young guys, rookie guys that have, high ceilings. And then we've got, our dogs like Zay McDuffie and Quay and
Wilson.
Mr. Wilson. So it's tough for a guy like Christian Welch to get a spot, but I think he's had a good enough camp that you got to think about it. You really do. But again, this could be another guy that, maybe just goes to the practice squad. And I don't know, maybe he doesn't clear waivers. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But
he's a bit older.
Gave us a hell of a preseason and training camp. I'll tell you that.
Oh, here we go. We got a little.
Here was at Hog NFL on Twitter. This was Matt LaFleur when asked about Christian Welch. I think it was yesterday after the game.
Throughout this whole preseason, and what has he done to make things maybe difficult for you?
Yeah, he's just a smart, tough, physical player. I thought that interception that he had was an outstanding play. It looked like, to me, he baited the quarterback right there as a hook player and just made a great break on the ball and made the play. And then he had a heck of a return.
So obviously,
smart, tough, and physical. What else do you want from a linebacker?
Playing hook zone, reading the quarterback's eyes, driving on the ball.
And we know how he is downhill too against the run.
Absolutely.
So
we know how he is on special teams.
Man, I'm telling you.
Did you see him too on special teams? He was the lead tackler.
I think he's got a legit shot to make the roster.
Christian Welch, Iola.
If it comes down to him and Zane Anderson, because some people are still saying Zane Anderson has a shot to make it because of the special team prowess, I'm taking Christian Welch over Zane Anderson because the chances of a linebacker getting hurt seem like they're way more likely than a safety getting hurt. Therefore, you'd rather have Christian Welch in the starting lineup than you would Zane Anderson instead. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. That's kind of how I see that. But I'm excited.
If he makes the 53, book it. I'm buying the jersey.
And he's got some
It's a done deal.
experience too, right? Because he played for Baltimore. I think he played for a couple of different teams, right?
Yep.
So he's been in the league for a few years. It's not
I was
like
going to say he's like 26,
Undrafted.
27, I think. Yeah.
Yep.
we came full circle, Jacob. We started the show you talking about sometimes it takes a little bit of time for players to kind of get acclimated to the game and everything. He might be popping. Who knows, man? Love those type of stories.
We remember Rasul Douglas, right? That was a guy that we, picked up off a practice squad and played a hell of a lot of meaningful football for us down the stretch. So these guys are worth keeping an eye on, keeping them on your radar.
Yeesh.
Definitely. Let's see here. Nathan in the chat said, are we kind of worried the ones haven't had any snaps since week 1 of preseason? I was worried before the Ravens joint practice. I was very worried. Like, man, we got to do something. And for them to come out and just, for lack of a better way of saying it, it seemed like they dominated that practice.
Well, I just wake up in the morning and I just piss excellence.
So I'm feeling a lot better about it. How do you guys feel? Are we worried at all that the ones haven't played any snaps since week 1 of the preseason? I'm less worried than I'm worried.
Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I'm less worried. I'll be honest, I was a little bit kind of like, man, we have not seen a lot of just not a lot of snaps in the preseason. But I think, like you talked about, there was a comment in here that I probably can't find right now, but in their opinion, the one-on-one scrimmages where it's basically like a live game situation, I feel like is better practice than kind of the patty cake we see on an actual televised preseason game. Does that make sense? You know what I mean? Because these guys are, I'm sure, they did really well at not letting these guys fight and, put the helmets off and start beating each other to death with them. But they, it sounded like they actually had good reps, quality reps where both coaches were like, yeah, we actually got some progress done today. Now, I don't know if that's better or worse progress than you'd get in a live game situation, but it seemed like both coaches were completely content with the practice. And like we talked about, man, Jordan Love seems to have a little bit of a slow starter in him kind of thing. He threw the interception early and then ended it with 4 red zone touchdowns. So, he's getting his work. The boys are getting the work. If anything, I'd maybe want more work for the younger guys just to get them more, get the butterflies out, get the any sort of bugs worked out of their system. But I'm pretty confident with where we are as a team.
I mean, this last week of the preseason, I think compared to last year's, I was at the Patriots joint practice, the Patriots game. We all remember that debacle. This year was totally different. I saw a joint practice that it looked like both coaches were in sync. Both teams got good work in. We saw it in the preseason game yesterday. I think both teams, we saw, like Clayton said, a lot of vanilla, but we got to get that analysis of those players that we wanted. I think the coaches were clearly in lockstep, had a game plan. I was laughing in the stands when we had that penalty there before the half, and you get the 10-second runoff and all, and then we burn our final timeout to save the 10-second runoff, and then Harbaugh declines the it's like you'll never. I looked at my dad. I said, "You will never see that in a regular season game. There's no way." So clearly, there's 2 staffs that are communicating, and they said, "Hey, we don't want to screw up this 2-minute drill. Let's decline the run." I love it. So that's what preseason football really is all about.
Kevin Harlan explained it, and then John Kuhn on the broadcast went, I didn't even know you were allowed to do that.
Hey, by the way, I love Kevin Harlan. He's got such a great announcer voice, and I can't tell if it's forced, but
do you know who he is?
Him all
is that
day.
Bob Harlan's kid?
It's Bob Harlan's son. Yeah. Sure is.
Is that right?
Bro, there's a clip. Oh my God, I want to show it so bad.
And honestly, John's pretty good for halfway through the I didn't realize it was John until about halfway through, and I was like, is that freaking John Kuhn?
Yeah, no,
he kind of seamlessly he did a really good job.
Kevin Harlan's is just a legend, man. And he's one of those broadcasters that this guy could call, an amateur table tennis tournament. And
he's got a great
interesting
voice.
Yeah. I mean, anything he calls, that's great. And you almost think it would be forced, right? Because he's got that powerful announcer guy voice.
Everything's like this.
And it's not fake, man. That's he's not putting that voice on for.
He's no Paul Allen, but he's pretty good.
We got so close. We have reapplied for monetization, and they are looking it over and seeing if we meet all the criteria.
Oh, Lord.
And here we are, probably going to screw it up today, but I don't care. So
Don't do it, Clayton.
This is what we give to the people right here. All right. So let's drop that comment down, gents, if you don't mind. This is the best of Kevin Harlan. Brace yourself for some serious laughter here.
Cincinnati, a beautiful night and all.
Listen.
Excuse me? A beautiful night in Cincinnati. Tonight's first half highlight.
The way he broke up. Let's get it off the screen quick. Didn't do anything.
Nothing happened.
God, it cracked me up, man. I don't know if it was Kuhn or who was with him, but whoever it was like, you could tell they were poking him. What was it?
There's some big old women down in San Antonio.
It's a beautiful Anyway, all right. Right guard rotation. We'll wrap this bear up here. Get serious, Jacob. For God's sake, be professional. Rob Domowski tweeted out, Matt LaFleur to Andy Herman at the presser, I guess, question about whether Sean Ryan and Jordan Morgan could rotate at right guard during the regular season like Ryan and Runyon did last season. Quote, I like where you're going. Who knows? So I think especially with the Jordan Morgan injury, I think there's a decent chance. Let me just leave that up there. There's a decent chance that there is a rotation at right guard. Mino liked that, Jan, but they really liked it last year. What do you guys think about that idea there?
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either. We need to, for the love of God, give us a right guard that will play right guard. Give us an offensive line that will be consistent, especially when you've loaded this locker room up with versatile players, right? So we gotta be able to find a home for guys. But it's tough. It's that time of year. You gotta figure that out, and then you want to go forward with some consistency. But I am not a fan of musical chairs on the offensive line. We've already seen
Timmy
that.
Stole my line. That was going to be my line. I don't want to see no musical chairs on the offense anymore. And it's a weird, quote unquote worked for us last year, but did it really? I mean, John Running's gone, and now we don't have a right guard. I want to. I like the progress it seems that Jacob Monk has been making. And I really like the progress that it seems that Sean Ryan, that's a guy right there that we just talked about, Clay. Maybe it took a couple of years for him to click. And all of a sudden it seems, hopefully, knock on wood, that this guy's maybe his strength is caught up with them. Maybe the game is slowed down for him, whatever the case is. That I do think that, it's a make or break year for him. I definitely think that for sure. But I'm with Tim. No more musical chairs on the offense, please. Let's just get a guy, put him in the position, and let him freaking learn it.
I was trying to see what Jacob Monk did in game one of the preseason. We don't have the PFF grades yet for yesterday's game. We'll have them for you guys on PTA Live tonight at 7 p.m. Central Time.
Yes,
Jacob
they were
Monk,
cheese breasts.
Yes, they were. They were cheese. Yes, cheese breasts.
Heard it from a fan right here.
All right, Jacob Monk in game one had a PFF grade of 63.9. His pass blocking was horrible at 33.4, but the run blocking was good at 68.7. So if we go to preseason week 2, which everybody kind of played bad in that game for the most part, I think did he have a down game or did he have a big game in week 2? Let me see here. Where you at, dude? Jacob Monk, where are you, sir? Yeah, 48.3 in game 2. Again, it's not everything. It's just cross-reference PFF. But I will say this. It seemed like he overcorrected. His pass blocking grade went up to a 69.2. His run blocking went down to a 43.4. So you see he's showing flashes. He can do both. It's just putting it together at the same time. Maybe we seen that yesterday, And I haven't had a chance to go back and really key in on the offensive line, and we'll utilize PFF this evening to see what they're saying about it. So Jacob Monk got a lot of promise for sure. So,
yep.
All right, guys. Anything else you guys want to talk about before we get out of it? It's 54-minute mark.
I'm just
Is
excited.
it Tuesday afternoon yet?
Right.
Oh, sorry, Jacob. Go ahead. What were you saying?
No, I'm excited to see the grades. In my opinion, I thought we saw a lot of guys that needed to perform, definitely performed. And I want to just see how that matches up with the grades and all that. And it's going to be a tough decision here, and I'm more interested, I guess, to see. This is where the front office, all the kind of nuance and experience they have. This is where we're going to see the proof is in the pudding. How they're going to manipulate certain roster moves to make that actual 50. We say 53, but it's bigger than that. You know, they're building that practice squad out. They're getting the rotation down. They've got eyes on other teams as to who they're going to be releasing. It's going to be a whirlwind. I mean, we made it through the offseason in what seemed like no time at all. I mean, I remember when the seasons ended and we got through all the heartbreak and shed the tears of, you know, a would-be end of a season that we didn't necessarily like. I remember looking ahead in the future and thinking, God, this is going to be forever until the next meaningful football happens. Bro, we killed that offseason. I appreciate everybody that watches us, all the, you know, the Dennises, the Tool for this, all those guys, all you guys that have helped us through this. It was, it went by in a freaking blink of an eye, dude. And now here we are. We're waiting. Was it 2 weeks until we got freaking kickoff? Less than 2 weeks, bro. We got a Friday night kickoff game, dude. I'm so excited.
To tell you, Pack is back.
You heard it from a fan right here.
Y'all are splicing that together perfect, man. I love it. No, I'm with you, Jacob. I'm with you. And it went fast, but I'll tell you this, man. Everything's going fast, you know. And I don't mean to get heavy, but like, man, I'm telling you, you're going to look up in a year or two and go, I wish I'd have slowed down a little bit.
Yeah.
Because it's just, man, really hit me this year. Maybe it's that midlife crisis everybody talks about. I don't know. But not being able to talk the old big brother, you kind of look up and go, damn, what just happened? That went fast, you know. So just slow down, tell the people you love, tell them you love them. And the ones that you don't love, just don't say anything. You ain't got to be mean. You know what I mean? But it does. It's going really, really quick. So that's why I was grinning like a possum in a dumpster when I seen Tim have pops at the game last night. That's what I'm talking about.
That is
That's
a
all.
possum in a dumpster.
All right. Well, we're out of here, guys. Appreciate everybody hanging out with us. We'll be back tonight, 7 p.m. Central Time. Talk some more Packers. We'll dive into a little bit more of the 53-man roster. If you guys are lucky, we might talk about the kicking battle a little bit too. We'll see. I don't know.
How dare you?
As Will Ferrell said, I don't know if we'll have enough time. I don't know. We got a nice little, what do you say, nice little Saturday plan.
Nice little Saturday. Home Depot. Wallpaper.
Bed Bath & Beyond. I don't know. I don't know if we'll have enough time. So we need to go watch Old School. That's everybody's
one. It's gonna do
The best
one.
part is when he's got the roll of toilet paper and he's like fist pumping.
When they snatched up the dude in the van.
Yeah, we're telling you about this. I'll kill you.
Everybody, I'll kill you. I'm just joking. Then he goes through a grocery. All right, this show sucks. We'll see y'all tonight. Appreciate
You're
everybody.
my boy, Blue.
Help me out, Tim.
For those of you listening on the pod,
thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, we don't know why you do, but thank you for making us a part of your day. As always, it's going to be the change we want to see in the world. Jacob, go Pack, go.
This show sucks.